Hello, everyone, and welcome to Direct Snap, the top-level sports NFL weekly talk show. I'm your host as always, Connor Groel, here to talk about NFL Week 7. Can you believe it? Already Week 7, more than a third of the way now into this thing, and definitely, in the full swing of bye weeks now. We had two teams on bye in weeks 4, 5, and 6. Now moving up to four teams: Packers, Raiders, Steelers, and Seahawks, getting their annual 1-week breaks this week. Another team on bye in the college game is my University of Texas Longhorns. Hashtag Texas is back. Before we get into the show today, I wanted to plug a couple other things. The Top Level Sports YouTube channel, going to start to become a little more active over there. So if you have not already, go ahead and subscribe, get your notifications on. Get your notifications on Facebook for the live show if you have not already. I did put out a video on the YouTube channel yesterday, making my NBA Dream Team, doing my take on a challenge Bleacher Report did with Charles Barkley. Gave him $15 to make his NFL Dream Team, or NBA Dream Team, rather. I'm getting my sports a little mixed up because the NBA season did start yesterday. And while I'm talking about the NBA, if anyone has any opinions on me potentially doing an NBA show, please let me know about that as well. I know I'll be trying to do a weekly college basketball show when that, comes into play in a few weeks. NBA, I know I'll be making some smaller videos, some articles obviously about it. Undecided on doing an NBA show. Would probably be mostly a rumor mill, or just normal NBA news. Wouldn't be a picks or anything like that. Maybe some predictions, maybe some fantasy stuff. Who knows? I'll definitely keep that in mind and let me know if you have any opinions on that. Here we are, though, for Week 7 NFL. And on this week's show, we're going to roll out the same schedule as we did last week. Starting off with some quick headlines, then heading into the power rankings, doing our top 3 games of the week, as we like to do, and finishing it up with the Week 7 predictions. Going to jump straight into it then with our headlines, the first segment of the show. So first, we got 4 main things to talk about. First one, how about Brock Osweiler? And trust me, I did not expect to have to talk about Brock Osweiler of all people on today's show, but here we are, and here we are talking about Brock Osweiler. Journeyman quarterback. He's had, well, I was going to say his fair share of successes and his fair share of troubles, but a little weak on successes, really, to this point for Brock Osweiler. Started a bit for the Broncos. That didn't go well. Then he moved on to the Texans. Actually, it did go well for Osweiler. He had 1 year. Yeah, he did. Really strong few weeks of the season, and that ended up giving him a 4-year, $72 million contract the next year with the Texans, one they will certainly be regretting giving him all that money, because only a year later they dished him to the Browns. He was with the Browns for a bit. Browns cut him, signed on to be the backup for Ryan Tannehill in Miami, and Tannehill, with a surprise scratch, was a no-go against the Bears, and with the Bears being the NFL's #1 pass defense, it definitely looked like, it might be a disaster situation for the Dolphins, even at home, having to start Osweiler, a turnover-prone quarterback, and a guy that hasn't had much success in a while. But boy, did he surprise us. It was a huge win for the Dolphins, actually, to keep pace with New England. Now both teams are 4-2 in that AFC East. The Dolphins had a 3-0 start to the year, but then dropped back-to-back games. So we're looking really shaky heading into this crucial Week 6 matchup at home. But a 31-28 win in overtime it was for the Dolphins over the Bears, making that Bears defense look, not as great as advertised, certainly. Osweiler, you can see the stats on your screen, 383 touchdowns. He did throw the 2 picks because, Osweiler will be Osweiler. But really an amazing performance leading that team when no one expected him to. It was a late scratch for Tannehill, and he's actually already been ruled out again this week. So Brock Osweiler will get to start again another home matchup against the Lions in Week 7. We'll see if he can repeat his success, or if he reverts to being more like his old self. But the Dolphins will take this a huge victory, and that was a crazy overtime game. It looked like the Dolphins were going to win it on the first drive of overtime. They got down to the 1-yard line, courtesy of a couple big runs from Frank Gore. Gore, an absolute legend at this point in his 15th season or so, and he's the oldest running back in the league. I would say by far. Sproles also, but outside of him and Sproles, I feel like the only really older guys in this league. League dominated in terms of running backs by these 22, 23-year-olds. Frank Gore showing that, tough physical running, durability, still highly valued in this league. But Frank Gore gets the ball down to the 1. Then they give it to Kenyon Drake, actually, to try to put it in a touchdown. Of course, wins on the first possession of overtime. Kenyon Drake fumbles the ball back to the Bears. Bears have a 50 or so yard field goal for the win. That is no good. And then the Dolphins get it back, and then the Dolphins will kick a game-winning field goal. So a close one. Got a little lucky maybe with the goal line fumble, but they will take it in the end. The Dolphins, of course, had forced their own goal line fumble earlier in the game against Jordan Howard, the Bears running back. So Osweiler gets a big win for the Dolphins. Let's talk about a game that I said in last week's show could be the game of the year. That was actually a bit of a slip up from me. I was intending to say game of the week, but I said it always had the possibility to become the game of the year. And game of the year it just might well have been. Patriots Chiefs, oh my goodness. It was a blowout in the first half. If you can say that, the Chiefs, they did get stuck on a 4th and goal, I'm sorry, they did not. They threw an interception in the end zone. Did Pat Mahomes at the end of that first half. So the Patriots head into the halftime break with a 14-17 point lead around there. But in the second half, the Chiefs came marching back, 30-point half, just trading scores back and forth, the Patriots and the Chiefs did. And, a late comeback from the Chiefs, and Tom Brady leads the drive in the final minute of the game, finds Gronkowski, a couple big ones. He had been silent for most of the night, but a humongous final drive for Rob Gronkowski. And the Patriots end up kicking a chip shot. At the end of that, it's an 83-point game, 43-40, an offensive bonanza. I guess this would have been to be expected with these teams, but still, you're never expecting to see something quite that dynamic, quite so electric and exciting. But that game certainly lived up to all expectations and exceeded them. And the Patriots handing the Chiefs their first loss of the season. I was a little scared I would look dumb after I picked the Chiefs to lose the previous week, and the Chiefs kept their undefeated season rolling. And then I picked against them again, but this time they do take their first loss of the season. A very different game to that game against the Jaguars defensively for the Chiefs. This game looked much more like the rest of the Chiefs season, where they really struggled to stop people. Another team that struggled to stop people actually was the Jaguars this week. The Jaguars, in a bit of free fall, this is supposed to be one of the best defenses in the league. They've now allowed 70 points over their last 2 games. Not looking anything like their normal selves. And after a 2-0 start to the season where they had that victory against the Patriots and people thought maybe this is the team to beat in the AFC, clearly not the case anymore. 3-3, losing 3 of their last 4. This one against the Cowboys too, and the Cowboys had really struggled in a lot of their games offensively this season, especially early on. But just no way to stop the running attack. Elliott, of course, as always. Dak Prescott had a great night running the ball, and the offense didn't do much of anything either. Not the greatest game, to say the least, from Blake Bortles. Still lingering injury concerns. with Leonard Fournette, who has not played since September and misses practice today as well, so could potentially be out even longer than that. Running TJ Yeldon. TJ Yeldon, not a bad back, but, Fournette, a superstar if he can be healthy, but health has always been the concern with him. So the Cowboys embarrassed the Jaguars in that one, 40-7. Pretty ridiculous. No one expected anything. I mean, Cowboys at home, maybe they can get the win. Some people would have had in favor to get the win, but, the margins. And then our final headline, Nathan Peterman does Nathan Peterman things. Josh Allen injured in that matchup in week 6 in the Bills game against the Texans. Bills have been keeping that one close. Peterman actually did throw a touchdown pass soon after he entered the game, but that gave the Bills a 3-point lead in that one. But then the Texans go down into the red zone, no problems. They actually get stopped, though, in that goal-to-go situation, which brings up a 4th down. So the Texans are forced to kick a field goal and give the Bills back the ball with, minute and a half remaining, and giving Nathan Peterman the opportunity to lead that game-winning drive. They would only need a field goal. Only a field goal to win the game. Yet what does Nathan Peterman, the turnover prone, about Nathan Peterman, the 5-interception game in his first start last season. This week 1 of this season, he had a quarterback rating or a passer rating of 0, a total goose egg in that game, and gets pulled in the third quarter for Josh Allen, who had been starting until now. But Nathan Peterman gets another shot. I don't know how he keeps getting chances, but he gets another shot. And he throws a pick 6 in the first play of the drive. Game over. Not necessarily game over. Now they just need a touchdown to force overtime, but what does Nathan Peterman do? He throws yet another interception. So Peterman, more mistakes, playing himself out of the league quickly, but who knows? He seems to keep getting these opportunities. He will not, though, get the opportunity in week 7. Bills have decided to bench Peterman. No, Josh Allen is not healthy. Not healthy yet. But the Bills actually signed Derek Anderson last week, and he will be the starter in week 7 against the Colts. So pretty crazy. A guy that comes in just last week. Derek Anderson, of course, has a lot of experience in the NFL as a starting quarterback, and he spent the last several seasons as Cam Newton's backup in Carolina. We'll be getting a start with a new team for him, the Buffalo Bills, who have had a bit of a quarterback carousel of late and of recent years. Those were our main headlines for week 7. Moving into the power rankings, going to start, of course, with our bottom 8 teams. And 32, there you see Chucky, John Gruden, and the Raiders, now officially the worst team in the league after they absolutely got squashed by the Seahawks. Final score of that game, 27-3. And, Derek Carr was getting clobbered, only finishes with 142 yards passing. Whole team only around 200 total yards against that Seahawks defense, which is not the same Seahawks defense of old. On the other side of the ball, running back by committee, everybody was getting involved, having decent success. Russell Wilson played well. A big bounce-back game for Doug Baldwin, who had been injured and who had struggled early on in the season. But a good game for the Seahawks, and the Raiders just look like they can't do anything. And John Gruden, the $100 million coach, had the jokes early on in the season about, if this team is not successful, I won't take the salary. I think it'd be a good idea if the Raiders took him up on that offer. He has said in the press conference after this game that they're not tanking. They're not trying to just lose to get that number 1 overall pick. I agree with him. They're not tanking. They just look really bad, because I think they are really bad. Niners moving up 1 spot. They almost knocked off the Packers, but Aaron Rodgers' magic bails out the Packers once again. Packers almost losing another game they should have won, and they do get the win. But if it wasn't for his heroics against the Bears and now his heroics against the Niners, the Packers would be 1-4-1, only win against the Bills. They blanked them in week 3 or week 4. A few more thoughts on the rest of this lineup. Moving the Giants below the Colts because at least the Colts can score some points. Give the Broncos some credit. I did not edit the records for the Bucs and the Broncos. They're both 2-4. Apologize for that. But both of these teams are actually, the Bucs are 2-3. Bucs are 2-3. Bucs had the bye in week 5, but came back off the bye and lost to Atlanta in Jameis Winston's first start of the season. And the Broncos 2-4. You got to give the Broncos some credit for keeping games close with good teams, almost beating the Chiefs, almost beating the Rams. But still 4 losses in a row puts them at number 26. And then the Cardinals, looking a little better. Josh Rosen's having looks kind of promising, but just the rest of the team, not really there. In our next section of teams, first we see the Titans moving down 10 spots after they get blanked 21-0 by the Ravens. Game in which Marcus Mariota was sacked 11 times compared to only 10 thrown completions. Ugly game for the Titans. Sends them way down, and the Titans have played in a number of ugly games this season. They're definitely in the running for most boring team to watch in the league this season. That 21-0 loss last week. Also a 13-12 loss to the Bills the week prior. They won a game against the Jaguars 9-6. Just, playing in a lot of low-scoring, ugly blowout games or just games where there's just nothing happening on either side. Don't really want to watch it. Thanks for tuning in, Ryan. We're doing the power rankings midway through. Dolphins moving up 6 spots for me. I've been a hater on the Dolphins this season, even when they've been winning. But credit where credit is due, getting the game with Brock up to number 19 in the rankings. Browns, a disappointing performance against the Chargers. I thought they really might have gotten something going. But, I'm a fool, and I'll pick them again this week, as we'll see later on in the show. Texans falling a spot again. Anytime you even almost lose a game to the Bills, you're dropping. That's just how it goes. And a good game for the Jets, moving up 4 spots, stringing together a couple wins in a row now. Sam Darnold and company up to 3-3. As we head into 9 through 16, big news. Cowboys up, Jags down. After that matchup, what else can I do but make some huge changes to both of those teams? Packers moving down 1 spot with the game against the Niners. That was a game at home that they should have really just blown out San Francisco. Was not the case. Instead, they really struggled. And again, as I said earlier, Aaron Rodgers, the only reason why they won that one. Redskins also moving up. I call that one. That was a good pick for me. The bounce-back matchup following the big loss to the Saints. But Redskins come back at home, and they take the win over Carolina, who falls 5 spots to number 9. Bears also dropping, and Bengals dropping. Not too far for them. Disappointing, tough finish for them, allowing that Antonio Brown touchdown on the pick play. I think the refs and the experts have said good, no call on that one by the officials in the game. But the Bengals do drop 28-21 to the Steelers in a game that would have been big for them to try to separate themselves from Pittsburgh and the rest of that AFC North. Now, actually, they are tied for the division lead with the Ravens. And since you can't see the Ravens on the power rankings, you have to know they are in the top 8. Big move up for the Ravens. A whole bunch of teams moving up 4 spots. I did, Brooke. Yeah, I do remember. It took me a second to remember the end of that game, but that is right. Cam Newton, he had about a minute and a half to go down for the game-winning touchdown. And I want to say turnover on downs, thrown in the end zone in the last few seconds of that one. Yeah, it was a very interesting very close game. There were a lot of really great finishes in that, early Sunday morning slate of games, or Sunday afternoon for you guys. And so I was trying to, bounce back and forth between a bunch of games. But yeah, a lot of good finishes, and that one was certainly one of them. Redskins and Panthers as we head into the top. That is not the top. That is backwards. The top 8 teams, maybe a bit of controversy here as I keep the Chiefs at number 2 above the Patriots, even after the Patriots victory. Just a few seconds to explain myself. I still like the Chiefs. I think if you can drop 40 points in New England, lose that game on the road by a field goal, I think they've looked stronger as a team for the rest of the season. I think they'd be favored to beat the Patriots at home. I think 2 through 4, Chiefs, Patriots, Saints are all very, very close for me. But I'll give the Chiefs the edge still. Still are 5-1, just that one loss. Rams, though, if this changes anything. Anyone that thought the Chiefs maybe should have been number 1, the Rams are definitely the number 1 team at this point in time. Saints dropping down that 1 on the bye, Patriots overtaking them, and then we get all the teams moving up 4 spots, Chargers, Vikings, Ravens, Steelers, everybody with a big move up, taking spots of, again, those teams I mentioned earlier, the Panthers, the Bengals, the Bears, the Jaguars, who moved down 10. Steelers 3-2-1, if I can correct myself again. Ravens 4-2, of course, after that huge defensive performance. Dad, let me know, what is the score in the Astros game right now? I have no idea. Chargers, of course, now moving into the top 5. Good for them. And again, their only 2 losses, I've said it once and I'll say it again, the Chargers' only 2 losses are to the Rams and the Chiefs. So definitely still a top-notch team. And with that big victory over the Browns, taking control, well, no, not control, first place, still down in that division, the AFC West, to the Chiefs, but at least taking hold of second place. Also, the Vikings getting a victory. Good for them. Start to string a couple in a row. This one was against the Cardinals. First one coming against the Eagles in week 5. Good for them to get things rolling after a shaky start to their season. Heading into the games of the week, as we always do, top 3 matchups of the week. These are the ones to look forward to. These are the ones to watch on Sunday. And my number 3 features a couple teams in that top 8 of my power rankings. The number 4 Saints and the number 7 Ravens. Ravens at home, again, trying to build off of their defense. 11 sacks. I mean, I just keep throwing the stat out there because it's ridiculous. 11 sacks of Marcus Mariota. 1 shy of tying the NFL record for most team sacks in a game, which is 12, which has been done, I believe, 5 times, most recently by the New York Giants in 2007. I believe that game was against the Eagles and McNabb. Taking on the Saints, coming off of their bye week, but a huge win in the Monday Nighter beforehand. Thanks for tuning in, Mom. 43-19 against the Redskins in that famous performance where Drew Brees set the all-time record for passing yards in a career. Again, trying to build off that momentum. The Saints have looked great. I did see an article on NFL.com, which I'd like to bring those to. I have not read it yet. I need to. Talking about how these running back duos are prolonging the careers of some of these quarterbacks, which is definitely the case with the Saints. Drew Brees, the defense had been really struggling for a few seasons. Saints missed the playoffs a bunch, even though Drew Brees was still chucking up 5,000-yard seasons like it was nothing. But the running back combination of Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram really bringing some life to that offense, and the defense getting better, and the Saints looking near unstoppable right now. Similar with the Patriots. Patriots feel like they have a revolving door of running backs, and no matter who they throw into the system, they are always successful. This year, James White, the pass-catching back again, doing his thing, catching passes like crazy and making guys miss in the backfield and even into moving upfield. He's a guy that's had huge performances in the last few Super Bowl appearances for the Patriots. Also, Sony Michel looks like that has turned into their new, primary ball handler, a runner, as opposed to James White as the receiver. Earlier in the season, of course, Rex Burkhead hit the IR. So next man up mentality, and the rookie out of Georgia is doing well. And then also with the Chargers, the Phillip Rivers getting a ton of help from Melvin Gordon and Austin Eckler. So these running back tandems, really allowing these teams to have more versatile offenses, be a lot more successful. Saints will, of course, try to run all over the Ravens, but that's going to be tough. The Ravens deal, don't really have to worry too much about their defense. It's going to be more about offense. So this should be a very fun matchup. Of course, both these teams already with 4 wins. Ravens in a difficult division. Both these teams in difficult divisions. Although the Bucs and the Falcons have fallen off, so maybe the NFC South is more of a pretender than a contender division for these wild card spots. But on the other hand, the Ravens fighting with the Steelers, fighting with the Bengals. Steelers 3-2-1, Bengals 4-2, Ravens 4-2. They're going to need as many wins as they can chalk up. So this will be a huge one. And that's going to be in that afternoon slate of games, 4 p.m. Eastern and 3 p.m. Central, 1 p.m. if anyone is listening in the West Coast, which I doubt, but there you go. My number 2 game of the week, Bears trying to look for that bounce back week, trying to look for a better defensive performance at home following the Osweiler Fest. Trubisky had a good game, as you can see, in that game against Miami with the stats, 316 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick. But it'll be a tough one going up against New England, who has been, destroying people ever since they dropped to 1-2. And the questions about the Patriots, this and that, and they've responded like they seem to always respond. And this is a team that always, it does not matter how the Patriots start, they always end up the best team in the AFC by the season's end. And they'll be looking to do that again, and maybe already the best team in the AFC. Again, I still had them slightly behind the Chiefs, but obviously, if you say Patriots are the best team in the AFC right now, I'm not going to argue with you too much. In that game, the Patriots scored on 9 separate drives. Pretty ridiculous offensive performance. Again, the Chiefs not a great defense, but 9 drives, you only get 10, 11 drives in an entire game, and I don't know the exact tallies. I think they had 11 or 12 drives in that one, but just going up and down the field basically at will, putting points on the board, and Gostowski making all 5 of his field goals. So this one, Bears, again, coming back home, but a difficult matchup against the Patriots, but it'll still be a great matchup. And it's going to be one of mine to look out for. The Bears 2-0 on the season at home. Win against the Seahawks in week 2, and then who can forget in week 4, the 48-10 stomping of the Buccaneers, stomped the Bucs right into their bye week. After that one, they said, no more, we need a break. And then what's the Pat Saint comment about? Can I get a little more on that? But also, my number 1 matchup of the week, the Chiefs are really turning into must-see football. Chiefs and Patriots, I think, and Rams, the good teams are obviously going to dominate the games to look out for on a weekly basis. But the Chiefs, their matchups have been there. 3 weeks in a row, they play the Jaguars, who at that point are 3-1, and then they play the Patriots. Now they play the Bengals, and just, ridiculous stuff. It's a difficult schedule. Pat Saints Super Bowl. I mean, yeah, right now that feels like a decent prediction. I think until someone beats the Rams have to be the favorite coming out of the NFC. But the Patriots are probably the favorites coming out of the AFC because it feels like they're always in the Super Bowl. This is a team that's made the AFC Championship game something like 10 years in a row, which is absurd, but it's something along those lines, maybe like 8 years in a row. And they're a team that is, played in 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. Or is it 3 straight Super Bowls? I don't even remember. There's just so much success. It's tough to remember all the numbers when you're talking about the Patriots, but you just always expect them to be fighting for a Super Bowl championship every year. And we hear the jokes about Tom Brady 50 years old or whatever, and it's every week we see him keep doing this. You just think to yourself, well, maybe you wouldn't say this about any other guy, but maybe he'll just keep going until he feels like he's had enough or he's proved his point. And if he hasn't proved his point yet, I don't know what point he's trying to prove. Maybe he's trying to come out with 8 rings or something crazy, just blow away the record books to a point where no one will ever catch him. But the Saints keep chugging along. I guess the Knicks, I did see the Knicks. Brian, if I checked right before I went live, the Knicks were up like 20 points or something like that in their first game. To be fair, I think they were playing the Hawks, and we expect the Hawks to be pretty awful. And Trae Young had a rough first half to his NBA debut. But, a big start for the Knicks. And the Knicks, of course, not a team we're expecting to be particularly great either by any means, especially with Porzingis out for the foreseeable future. But, hey, you'll take a nice win to start the season. A lot of teams getting their NBA seasons kicked off today. After I finish recording this show, I'll probably see what things look like in the Astros game. I'll see what games I can League Pass. NBA League Pass, by the way, is free today. Free day in their trial period. So if you do want to, at the conclusion of this show, go watch someone play for free, here's your opportunity. But back to my number 1 game of the week, which I feel like I've had the slide up for 5 minutes and I haven't hardly said anything about. Chiefs-Bengals, again, Chiefs becoming must-see television every week. Bengals, another team, fun, exciting offense. Tyreek Hill, the fastest man in the NFL, unbelievable. How is he always open? I don't know, but he's always open. Absurd stat, from that Sunday night game. More than half, or his average touchdown in his career is like over 50 yards. Of course, that counts return touchdowns, and it's 5 or 6 return touchdowns for Tyreek Hill in his career, which is crazy. But, every week he seems to do it. Nobody can catch him. No one can guard him. It's pretty ridiculous. League Pass free for a week. That's good to know. I'll hop on that and avoid the Reddit streams for a bit. A little more security, I would assume, with the NBA League Pass. But, this should be a great matchup. Like I've said, both these, Bengals trying to keep pace with everybody. It's going to be a real competitive AFC North, best division in football. And Chiefs looking to bounce back, avoid that 2 losses in a row. Sunday nighter, Chiefs play on Sunday night twice in a row. Guys that make the schedule, they know what's up. Must watch TV, so, put them on at a time where everyone will be watching. That is the one game of the week with the highest viewership every single week. So why not have the most exciting team on? Heading into our final segment, the predictions. Straight up a little better, still poor. We've gotten 8 games right against the spread over the last 2 weeks. So this would be a good opportunity to take whatever I say and bet the opposite. But we will keep going because, we chalk everything up to variance. And we will be better. Broncos-Cardinals playing the game tomorrow on Thursday night. Broncos playing for the season, says John Elway. And, he'd be right. 5 losses in a row would basically be the death sentence for this team and their playoff hopes because a 2-5 Broncos isn't going to run the table. I don't think that's a very bold prediction. But yeah, Broncos playing the Cardinals. Cardinals looking a little better. A couple weeks ago, grabbed their first win of the season against the Niners, and they didn't get killed by the Vikings. Kept that one 27-17, relatively close. That was a game I took the Vikings plus, or I took the Vikings minus 10.5, and the Vikings won that one by 10. So that was great. That felt great. Face cam on this, I still need to figure out how to do that. I need to put a little research into it. All I know is if there was ever a time where I could not go live and I had to do a pre-recorded version of the show, I would be able to get the face cam up and running for that. But as far as getting it on while I'm going live, again, it's something I'm going to have to keep working on. I say keep working on. It's honestly not something I've put a lot of attention to. It takes a little more work than I think anyone would really expect for me to be able to put this show together every week, throw all the graphics together. So I will work on getting some time to figure out how we can throw a face cam up. It would be nice. Cardinals with the points. I agree. Cardinals are going to be, and really when you're talking about a 1.5 point underdog, if you're going to take them with the points, you're basically taking them straight up unless you think it's going to be a 24-23 or something like that. But I do agree with you. I like the Cardinals to build on that momentum. They've been slowly picking up their defense, a little better than expected, I think, a little better than you would think. The Broncos keeping a lot of games close with good teams, but not being able to close, not really being able to pick up a victory. And the Cardinals got their first win of the season against the Niners at home, and they head back home, and I think they can make it 2 in a row in Arizona. Titans in their matchup against the Chargers. Chargers favored by 7, and that's what happens when you get blanked. In your last 2 games, you get blanked, and then you lose to the Bills. People don't really think you're that good anymore, and the Chargers, kind of the opposite on the flip side, really hot as of late. This is a team I like to continue off of their momentum and to take a 27-16 victory. I'll take them straight up. I'll take them against the spread. I'll take them any way you want to give it to me, except by more than 11 points. Patriots taking on the Bears. Like I have already mentioned, my number 2 matchup of the week. And as I would, before I head in the pick for this game, I would like to mention everyone watching the show. I thank you, of course, always for watching. But make sure you tune on your notifications for the show on Facebook. Again, really appreciate everyone tuning in, but we see everyone comes in eventually, but it would be nice. It takes a while for people to, kind of trickle in for me to share it on my personal page. You will get the notifications immediately whenever I go live for the weekly show. And even if I start doing other live shows here on Facebook, if you do have those notifications turned on. But here we go back into the Patriots-Bears matchup. And also, if you missed the beginning of the show, recommend subscribing to the YouTube channel where I posted a video yesterday doing my NBA Dream Team, picking out my NBA Dream Team for this season, $15. Again, it's one of those, pick 5 based on a Bleacher Report video with Charles Barkley that came out a couple days ago, giving my opinions on it and me making a couple different dream teams with a few different criteria in mind. And I will let you guys watch that if you want to. But let's finally head into this Patriots-Bears prediction. I think it's going to be tough for the Bears to slow down this offense from the Patriots. Been getting everything they've wanted for the past few weeks. I like the Patriots to take this one 31-26 on the road. And moving on to the Bills and the Colts. And the Bills' point spreads never cease to amaze. It's funny because it feels like they're covering more often than not. but they never look like a good team. They never look like someone that will really challenge, despite the fact that they do have a pair of wins on the year. Even up against a 1-win team, still 7.5-point dogs. This will be Derek Anderson's first start with the team. And it almost feels like this line is tempting you, to take the Colts, because they know people are going to pick the Colts to win this game. So, how many points can we give the Bills and still have people take the Colts? And guess what? If that's what they're trying to do, I'm falling for the bait. Or not. Actually faked myself out on that one. I thought I did have the Colts against the spread, but I do not. So I will keep with the prediction I have on the screen, 27-20. It kind of feels like, for me for this one, I think I have a lot more faith, despite the fact that he's only been with the team for a week. I do have a lot more faith, I will say, in Derek Anderson than I do in Nathan Peterman. So I definitely do think they're making the correct decision to start him in this one. Derek Anderson, again, Camden's backup for a long time, but he's also has a fair amount of experience as an NFL starter. I do think the Colts are going to find the win at home. I think they're going to need to. T.Y. Hilton is back and practicing. If he can play in this matchup, it'll be a huge advantage. A huge advantage for the Colts. I like them to take the win. I like the Bills to do a little more offensively than we've seen from them in the past few weeks, but not quite enough to really take a game off of Indianapolis. I think they'll both be 2-5 at the end of week 7. Pats recap. Head back to the Pats real quick. 31-26 over the Bears. A lot of points because that's what the Patriots do. All right, Texans, Jaguars. A couple teams that are on opposite trajectories right now. There was one point where the Jags were 3-1. Well, I guess after week 3, the Jags were 2-1 and the Texans were 0-3. Since then, the Texans have won 3 in a row. The Jaguars have been very up and down and mostly down as of late. Now these teams are both 3-3, and somehow the Texans are the division leaders on the road against the Jaguars, who are favored 4.5, despite the fact that they have struggled, especially in that 47 beatdown against the Cowboys last week. I do like the Jaguars to have a bit of a bounce back week and to get the victory at home, and then to take first place back in the AFC South, which looks like it's going to be one of those divisions where if anyone can hit 10 wins, that'll be enough for sure, but maybe even less. I definitely don't see the Titans doing much or the Colts doing much at this point. So I think this is going to be a big matchup for the future of this division. And I do like the Jaguars as the overall best roster in this division. I think they'll win this game. Not enough to take them against the spread, but I do like them to beat the Texans in the game. Dolphins playing the Lions. Dolphins 4-2. Brock Osweiler getting another start, and Lions 2-3 coming off their bye. This feels like another one where they're kind of just daring you to take the Lions, favored by 3 on the road against a 4-2 Dolphins team. And this time I actually will take the bait. No fake outs. I'm going 28-23 for Detroit. Can Brock Osweiler really turn in 2 good performances in a row? I'm highly skeptical. We'll see what he can do. But he looked great, and I got to give him all the credit I can for that first victory. But here in this one against the Lions, I like Stafford to come out firing on what has actually been a good red zone defense. But Lions are a team that connects on a lot of long touchdowns, so maybe they'll score without even touching the red zone. Who knows? I'm going to take them in this matchup. Yeah, I guess we all agree. Sumitra, Brian, we're all taking the Lions here. Again, the Dolphins are 4-2. I still have the Lions higher than the Dolphins in my power rankings. I'm not going to scroll all the way back, but the Lions are at 17 and the Dolphins are at 19. again, the Dolphins, a few of their early wins seemed a little fluky. They got crushed in their real matchup against the Patriots. Yeah, and I'm still not feeling them. Again, this is another matchup. It feels like the Dolphins could honestly they could go 12-4, and I'd still be like, I don't know, and I'd pick them to get crushed in the first round of the playoffs. But they really can't keep winning games, can they? I don't think so. Maybe I'll be wrong because I've been wrong on a lot this season. Feels like a lot more than I've been right on, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm going to take the Lions. Moving on, Vikings taking on the Jets. This could be a real surprise good matchup. I really like what I've seen out of the Jets the last few weeks. Their offense has been great. I saw an article. I might have to do like a segment on this show or just a segment on the blog or something where I just talk about all like the obvious takes I see in the media. A lot of times people, offer up these questions or they try to make bold statements, and to me it just feels like, well, of course. So I saw an article today or a headline or something that was, saying, are Sam Darnold and the Jets turning into the must-watch team in New York over the Giants, or is this the team out of New York that you should be watching, you should be following? And the answer is, of course it is, because the Jets have scored 40 points in like 3 games this season, and I don't have any confidence in the Giants to do just about anything. The Giants roster is much better, but performances are performances, and the Jets have shown the ability to do a lot of things where the Giants haven't. Clearly, I think the Jets are the best team in New York at this point. Coming up, are playing against a Vikings team again, coming off back-to-back wins, just as the Jets are themselves. So one of these teams will pick up their 3rd in a row, and the other one will have their momentum squashed. I think it's going to be very close. I could see this one going either way. I'm going to have a 2-point victory for the Vikings, giving them that game 26-24. As we head on to game number 8. So again, only 14 matchups this week. So now we're heading into the second half of the Pick'em section. We'll start with the Panthers taking on the Eagles. The Giants, next year we will not be starting Eli Manning. I don't know who the starter is right now. We might even see Kyle Lauletta at some point during the season. I'm not sure. Apparently the locker room really likes him. I don't really know. I mean, maybe if we're, 2-10 or something, which we probably will be. See what we got. But I still don't think we can quite move to Kyle Lauletta just yet. This early in the season, a guy that's, unproven rookie, hardly any experience, did not look particularly fantastic during the preseason. But anyways, moving on to this Panthers-Eagles matchup. And this is going to be another one, as I show the score, a 23-19 Eagles prediction, where I take the Eagles. But I will give the Panthers the points, and I'll take the Panthers against the spread. 23-19 Panthers. Kind of a mixed bag so far this season. One of those teams we think is going to be pretty good. We think will definitely be in the running for one of those wild card spots. If you want to hear Giants commentary, I can talk about the Giants for hours. And, I've wanted to, write some more stuff about the Giants, make some more videos about the Giants. But, ultimately, it's kind of depressing for me, and it just takes time. But, yeah, I like the Eagles in this one. Panthers, we think, are going to be fighting for those wild card spots, but yet to see. And I feel like at this point in the season, we have a good feel for a lot of these teams. Panthers one I'm still a little shaky on. Hopefully we'll get some more information from them in the coming weeks. Browns, Buccaneers. Here comes the idiot taking the Browns again for some reason. I think I've taken the Browns every week since their week 1 loss to the Steelers. Just because, I don't know, I believe in this team way more than I should. Maybe it's because I just want them to win, which I do. The Bucs, after their 2 Fitzmagic games, have lost 3 in a row. They don't look great. They're back down. The Bucks started this season at 30 in the power rankings. Through 2 weeks, they're up to like number 9. Now they're 25. Just peaked really, really, really early, like week 2 early. And I just don't think they're going to be very good. I think this will be an interesting game. Browns trying to get it done on the road. I think Jameis will have a pretty good day. I think we saw some good things from Jameis, some good and some bad, but overall not a bad first start to the season for him. I just think the Browns have to be better than, they have to be better than they showed in that matchup against the Chargers. And part of that's probably because the Chargers are quite a good team. This was their first game of the season that wasn't super close one way or the other, and they just got clobbered. But I like them to take this win against the Buccaneers as we head into Saints-Ravens. My number 3 game of the week. I think this one will be a little lower scoring than a lot of Saints games this season. That's what happens when you play the Ravens. Will be a tough one. I do have the Ravens actually taking it at home 23-20 by that field goal to just edge that 2.5 points they're favored by. And that'll have the Ravens improving to 5-2 and the Saints dropping to 4-2. But even if the Saints lose this game, I would not really have any worries about them. I still think they're clear favorites to win that NFC South. And I think they will be one of the favorites in the NFC moving forward. But I do like the Ravens in this matchup. Shout out to Justin Tucker, best fantasy kicker ever. Cowboys, Redskins, NFC East matchup. Everyone was kind of ragging on the NFC East. Week 6 was a big week for the NFC East. The Super Bowl champion Eagles, have their first great matchup of the season against the Giants. The Redskins beat the Panthers. The Cowboys beat the Jags. All of a sudden, coming alive a little bit. Redskins at 3-2, Eagles, Cowboys at 3-3. Every divisional matchup between these 3 teams is going to be a big one from here on out. I think it will really be a 3-team race. As long as Saquon Barkley doesn't start averaging 500 yards a game, which could happen. But this will be a good game. I do like the Redskins to take this one 24-20. Redskins at home. I'm actually going to try to run to my Twitter over the next few seconds because I saw a crazy stat about the Redskins and just their complete mediocrity. This one came from Dan Steinberg, good Twitter follow for DC area stuff. But the Redskins are 1-1 in their last 2 games, 2-2 in their last 4, 3-3 in their last 6, 5-5 in their last 10, 6-6 in their last 12, 7-7 in their last 14, 10-10 in their last 20, 16-1 in their last 33. I do remember that tie. 18-1 in their last 37, and 28-1 over their last 57 games. Can't really get more mediocre than that. But heading to 4-2, I guess, try to shake that a little bit. It is a bit ambitious for me to take the Redskins, considering they're 1-7 in their last 8 games following a win. But I do like them in this game against the Cowboys. Rams-Niners, not going to waste your time here. Rams 34-21. I will take them to cover. Rams have actually played their closest 2 games of the season by far over the last 2 weeks. In last week's victory over the Broncos 23-20 and their victory against the Seahawks 33-31 the week prior. But still, good offense in both of those games. And I think, they'll have a good old-fashioned easy win again this time against the Niners. Bengals Chiefs now in that Sunday nighter. Should be a great one. As I've said, Chiefs favored by 6 actually. No, I guess I do think that's a bit of a fair line. I thought it maybe have been a bit much, but on second thought, the Chiefs have just been really good, and I think even with their loss against the Patriots, I think in a lot of people's eyes, it might even give them a bit more confidence in the Chiefs for them to go and hang 40 on the Patriots, and even when they were down big early, to make that comeback, even if it did end in a loss. I think that's one of those games where both teams come out of it looking a lot better than they did beforehand. And both those teams looking like the clear favorites in the AFC. So Chiefs, Bengals. I will take the Chiefs in this game. Pretty unfortunate for the Bengals that they dropped their game last week against the Steelers, because Steelers, Chiefs, back-to-back, dropping a couple, now down to 4-3, and all of a sudden that great Bengals start at 4-1 doesn't really look too fantastic, although I guess it's good to get some of your harder opponents out of the way. In any case, my final score on this one will be 31-27. Final game of the day, of the week, and of the show is the Monday Nighter Giants against the Falcons. Not gonna lie, it's pretty annoying that the Giants feels like they're playing on national television every week. I kind of just want to lose in peace, but no. Spotlight has to be on us while we get, destroyed week in and week out. So here we go again. Giants to disappoint on Monday Night Football. Falcons to take the win 28-20. And to get their second win in a row after a rough start to the season for them, starting 1-4. But I like them to have a better performance on defense because the Giants seem to allow people to do that. So, yep, that will be my last pick of the week. Falcons 28-20 over the Giants. And as always, we close out by hanging around for a little bit. If anyone's got anything they want to ask me, I'm not even going to limit this to NFL. Give me college football, give me NBA, give me whatever. Anything you want to talk about, I'll be here for the next few minutes. And I guess I'll just wait for that. While we're at it, Thanksgiving preview? Or what about Thanksgiving? Who's playing on Thanksgiving this week? Or Thanksgiving NFL games. Will be the Bears, Lions. Of course, the Lions and the Cowboys always play. Bears, Lions, Redskins, Cowboys, Falcons, Saints. Yeah, looks like a good lineup for NFL Thanksgiving. I'm sure that's probably not what the comment was intending, but hey, I think it'll be fun on Turkey Day. Thanks for joining the show, or at least clicking on it temporarily. Nahyan is the end of the show this week, but you can find the whole show on Facebook after I finish and on YouTube later tonight. While we're at it, let's check some NBA scores. NBA, of course, second week of the season, or second day of the season, rather, as I see that the Astros are up 3-2 or the Red Sox up 3-2 against the Astros in the bottom of the third, as I try to get my words together. It looks like the Pelicans are up big on Houston, 101-84, entering the fourth quarter, which is interesting. And the Knicks with another big victory, 126-107 was the final score in that one. They had a 49-point second quarter, outscored the Hawks 49-25. My goodness. Everyone's, of course, going to want to know about Trae Young. He shot 5 of 14, finished with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, and 4 turnovers. Not the best, but it certainly could have been worse. Thanksgiving preview show. Again, I still don't know what you're talking about with the Thanksgiving preview, but whatever. NBA MVP LeBron Giannis. So who's the odds-on favorite for this? Is it LeBron? I think it's LeBron. Yeah, and by the way, Brian, to this hoodie Melo thing, I'm not a fan of Melo. I didn't want the Rockets to pick up Melo. I don't think it's going to work out well for them at all. Melo's not a guy that wins. The Rockets this year, well, I guess, and it won't all be Melo's fault. Of course, they lost a lot of wing defense, etc. But the Rockets this year will not be as good as they were last year. The Warriors will be the 1 seed this time. Red Mamba, really, did he? I did see, yeah, because he had not been playing earlier in this one, so he did get a few minutes at the end of that game. That's good to know. Hey, 3 rebounds and a steal in 4 minutes. Not too bad for Clifton Kevin. We do this show every week, 8 p.m. Central on Facebook Live. I think you have the page, the Untitled Sports page liked, but you can turn on the notifications to know when we go live every week. I say we, it's really just me. Yeah, LeBron does have the best Vegas odds. I'll look up NBA MVP odds. It's tough because the Warriors, even with the addition of DeMarcus Cousins especially, just have too many guys for it to go to any of them, despite the fact that Steph Curry in particular had a fantastic opening night performance. Yeah, let's see. Can I get LeBron at 333 plus 333, so like 3.3 to 1. Anthony Davis at 4.5. Giannis and Harden, or Giannis at 5. Harden at 650. My picks, I like Anthony Davis at 450. The only problem with that is that, if the Pelicans don't make the playoffs, he can't win the MVP. Well, actually, I want to go back on that actually and say I don't really like. I think there's a good chance he'll be the best player in the league this season, but I don't think that the Pelicans are going to be good enough for him to actually win the award. So, and you know how it goes. This has happened. Where guys have great performances, but it's just the team is not good enough. I think that's what we've seen with LeBron a couple of these last years, and I'm not saying that LeBron would have been my pick for MVP either the last couple of years. My pick has been Harden for I think like 3 years in a row. But you do have to be a top team usually to be the MVP. So I think Harden is actually still pretty great value at plus 650 because the Rockets are probably going to be, not number 1, but a top 3 team in the West, which means probably a top 3 team in the league. And Harden will just be a beast on this team like he always is. Giannis at 500 to me has a lot of the problems same problems as Anthony Davis. LeBron's never a bad choice as we look down at these other. Kawhi at 950. That's actually a really interesting one because Kawhi with Toronto they're the favorites to. Are they the favorites to be the number 1 team out of the East? I'm not even sure. Is it them or Boston? I think it's Toronto, but I'm not sure. Yes, this is totally tuned into a basketball little comment section, but that's totally fine by me. I did say early in the show, let me know if you are interested in me doing a basketball show, or I don't even know. I would probably, I'd power rank. I would, news, rumor mills, NBA Twitter, because, NBA Twitter can be its own show. All kinds of stuff. Some of the more shot in the dark picks. Ben Simmons at 2,500. Actually, on second thought, nah. Russell Westbrook at 1,600. As much as I don't like Russell Westbrook, at 16 to 1 for the guy that just had 2 straight triple-double seasons. I think 16 to 1 is pretty good value on Russ. Surprised that he's below Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving did nothing last night. And I was actually surprised in that Charles Barkley Bleacher Report video that they had Kyrie Irving as the $4 point guard and Russ as the $3 point guard. I know Kyrie Irving's a great player, but I just think maybe a bit overrated. So Celts and Raps, that's going to be a good battle for the East this season. Yep. And I don't think it's worth talking about much of these other long shots, despite the fact that Lonzo Ball is on the list at plus 45,000. Because why not? because they know people will bet on Lonzo Ball. So if you would like Lonzo Ball for NBA MVP this season at 450 to 1, go on to OddsShark or go on to Bovada, and you can get it. You can get that bet on Lonzo Ball. You can also, for some reason, get a 275 to 1 bet on Kristaps Porzingis, despite the fact that he might not play for most of the season. You do like Giannis. Again, like Giannis and Anthony Davis, again, I've said, like, if you want to go just by who's going to, like, just stuff the stat sheet and look like the best player in the league, like, Giannis and Anthony Davis are good bets, but I'm still just concerned about what if the Bucks go 48 and 34, you know, and Giannis averages 27, 9, and 7. Is that going to be good enough? I mean, is the team going to be good enough for him to get the MVP? You know, when they're a team that's, you know, still going to be favored to get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, potentially? I don't know. I mean, maybe, right? I guess it depends on how other people perform as well. But color me still a little skeptical. I'd also like to see Giannis develop more of a shot, despite the fact that I know it's not his game. Let's see. How did Giannis do? Oh, boy. Well, Giannis starts off the MVP campaign with 25 points, 18 rebounds, and 8 assists. Huge first game for him, although we did have 8 turnovers. So a good start to the campaign for Giannis. Kemba with 41 on the other side as the Bucks do edge the Hornets by a point. Really, you think Bucks will be better than the Sixers? If the Bucks are the number 3 seed, and Giannis puts up similar numbers to what I said earlier, then yeah, he could definitely take it. What's he at right now? 5 to 1. I don't know. I'm not an expert, but it feels reasonable at the very. I probably wouldn't bet on it myself, but it feels reasonable at the very least. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed your little NBA powwow at the end of this show, but this is an NFL show. This is Direct Snap, the Top Level Sports NFL talk show. I've been Connor Groel. Turn on your notifications for next week. You can see the Facebook, as well as, well, you're on the Facebook, as I say. So you don't really need to learn how to get there, but my Twitter, the Top Level Sports Twitter, coming into next week, I'll probably also throw the YouTube up there. Good point. Jason Kidd is not a great head coach at all. But this has been the show. Again, we do this every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Central Time. Next week, we'll be talking about NFL Week 8. And you can see my NFL picks on the screen. But yeah, we will do this thing again next week. I'm Connor Groel, as always. Thanks, Nahian. I'll see you next week. And for everyone else, I will see you next week as well. Guess I've kind of been bumbling about for this last few minutes, which means it's probably a good time to end. So I will see you guys next week.